June 22, 2016, Wednesday of the 12th week in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the second book of Kings. The priest Hilkiah informed the scribe Shaphan, "I have found the book of the law in the temple of the Lord." Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, who read it. Then the scribe Shaphan went to the king and reported, "Your servants have smelted down the metals available in the temple, and have consigned them to the master workmen in the temple of the Lord." The scribe Shaphan also informed the king that the priest Hilkiah had given him a book, and then read it aloud to the king. When the king heard the contents of the book of the law, he tore his garments and issued this command to Hilkiah the priest: Ahikam, son of Shaphan, Akbor, son of Micaiah, the scribe Shaphan, and the king's servant Asaiah, "Go, consult the Lord for me, for the people, for all Judah, about the stipulations of this book that has been found. For the anger of the Lord has been set furiously ablaze against us, because our fathers did not obey the stipulations of this book, nor fulfill our written obligations." The king then had all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem summoned together before him. The king went up to the temple of the Lord with all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, priests, prophets, and all the people, small and great. He had the entire contents of the book of the covenant that had been found in the temple of the Lord read out to them. Standing by the column, the king made a covenant before the Lord, that they would follow him and observe his ordinances, statutes, and decrees with their whole hearts and souls, thus reviving the terms of the covenant which were written in this book. And all the people stood as participants in the covenant. The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, "Teach me the way of your decrees, O Lord. Instruct me, O Lord, in the way of your statutes, that I may exactly observe them. Teach me the way of your decrees, O Lord. Give me discernment, that I may observe your law and keep it with all my heart. Teach me the way of your decrees, O Lord. Lead me in the path of your commands, for in it I delight. Teach me the way of your decrees, O Lord. Incline my heart to your decrees and not to gain. Teach me the way of your decrees, O Lord. Turn away my eyes from seeing what is vain. By your way, give me life. Teach me the way of your decrees, O Lord. Behold, I long for your precepts. In your justice, give me life. Teach me the way of your decrees, O Lord.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "Beware of false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but underneath are ravenous wolves. By their fruits you will know them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Just so, every good tree bears good fruit, and a rotten tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a rotten tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire. So, by their fruits you will know them." The Gospel of the Lord.
June 22nd, Wednesday of the 12th week in Ordinary Time. The first reading comes from 2 Kings 22, 8-13, and 23, 1-3. This is the story of how Hilkiah found the scroll of the law in the temple. The king had ordered that the temple be cleaned out because it had been ignored for many decades, and it was literally filthy. Furthermore, pagan statues had been brought in, and Assyrian gods were being worshipped in the temple of the Lord. Josiah ordered that the temple be cleaned of all foreign elements, and in the course of the cleaning, the high priest found a scroll of the law of the Lord in the temple. Now this scroll is the basis of what we call the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy means the second law, and it extends the law of Israel, especially to cultic elements, to how God was to be worshipped. For example, up to this time, you could worship the Lord on any hilltop under any green tree, and in fact there were shrines to the Lord spread throughout the land. Well, as of the issuance of the book of Deuteronomy, there would be only one place in all of the world that one could worship Yahweh, at the temple in Jerusalem, a centralization of the cult. And there were other obligations that were placed upon Israel. The king first of all sent this scroll to experts to make sure that this was really authentic. And when they certified it, he proclaimed this to be the law of Israel throughout the land. This was found in 622 BC, almost immediately before the Babylonian exile. Now the Deuteronomists who were responsible for this book, or who were influenced by this book, we're not quite sure which, also edited many of the history books of the people of Israel, so that the history would say what was supposed to happen and not what necessarily happened. We can see the difference between the book of Judges, in which the Jewish people enter the promised land in the middle of the night and dwell on the hilltops, versus the book of Joshua, where the walls of Jericho come tumbling down and they conquer every city they meet. We see the difference between the books of Samuel and Kings, which tell the story as it happened, and the book of Chronicles, which avoid some of the nastier details, such as David's sinfulness, etc. Now, when was this book actually written? We're not sure. Was it written in times of old, or was it written during the reign of Manasseh, the grandfather of King Josiah, who was a terrible king who persecuted the faith, or was it written 5 minutes before the cleaners got to the room? We're just not sure. Most probably, it's not an immediate production, but it probably doesn't date all the way back either. The Gospel is from Matthew 7:15-20. Jesus warns his disciples to beware of false prophets. Many people who claim to be religious, who claim to be proclaiming a message from God, are not doing so. And therefore, we have to realize that we can only judge them according to their fruits. If they're living a good, holy life, then that's usually a very good sign. If, on the other hand, they're hypocritical, they say one thing and live in another way, then we should be very cautious, because their message doesn't seem to be one of integrity, one of authenticity. And may God bless us.